So if you're at home watching this lesson now, I want you to answer these three things for me. Do you want to hit it further? Do you want to strike it better? And do you want to strike it more consistently? If the answer's yes, you might not have the turns you need in your golf swing to be achieving that. So in today's lesson, 3 drills you can do to help you get better turns and achieve those 3 things I've just said. Let's get stuck into this lesson right now. Okay, so those 3 things that we've talked about, the distance, the consistency of strike and just striking it better in general, can all be linked back to having poor turns, because what I've seen from quite a few of my lessons in recent times is that there's a bit of a misunderstanding of how we should turn, and obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the golf swing. You know, we've got to move our arms, we've got to move the club, we've got to get it in certain directions around our body whilst also turning the body in the right manner. And these 3 simple drills that I gave to my students really helped sort of the light bulb click, and then they found more distance from it, they found that they were striking it better. So I thought, right, well, got to do a video on this. If this is that easy for these guys to get it, let's see if it can help some of you golfers out there to achieve the same results. So I'm going to go through these 3 stages, and first stage, we've got to understand, like, well, what does a turn look like? What do we want our golf swing, in the backswing this is, what do we want it to actually look like? Because what I see a lot of people doing is either that as they take a golf swing here, and we have a line drawn up the middle of us now, when we turn in the golf swing, we want to work the upper body against the lower body. So we create some torque, we actually create the rotation to allow the club to go around my body, and then on the way down they would work against each other, and again I'm making more of this circular motion of a swing as I'm going through. That's going to allow me to create the speed that I need to and generate the force I need to get the ball going the distance I want it to, and also get the club bottoming out at the right time. But sometimes the feeling of working the upper body against the lower body is lost. What I would see from a lot of people is that either we get something where as I take my backswing now, they both work together, and we get this sort of motion where I move off the line and basically I've pushed my upper torso over away from my legs and gone out away from the golf ball. I might get something from this sort of angle where as I take it back, I've got great angles in my setup and in my posture, but as I work the club back, I simply just lift the golf club up into the backswing, so I've not really rotated from this angle here. And then we might have other things where we see people where work in opposite directions, where we feel maybe that the legs go one way and the torso goes the other, so we get something a bit like this where we get a little bit of a reverse look about it. And all these things I'm going to have to try and manage and get back to where I was at the start and create the turns, and it's just going to lead to a real lack of inconsistency. So a real simple drill that we can do to do that, all you're going to need is 2 canes or 2 golf club shafts if you've got any of those, and this is what it's going to look like. So 2 canes here. All we need to do, if you haven't got these, like I say, a bamboo rod, an old golf shaft would be ideal, and you're probably going to need belt loops if you've not got a pair of pants with those on. It really helps, because the first one's going to go through our loops here. We're just going to slide that through, and then the second one I'm going to use this to identify my torso. So I've got my lower body, and then I've got another one for my upper body. And what I want to do here, if I just place my club down as the middle of the line for my body now, what we want to try and do, and this is relative to how flexible you are as well, in the perfect world we would get sort of 90-degree shoulder rotation where it would be something like this, and then we would get something where the hips would turn 45 degrees. So as I do this, you will notice now as I get to the top of the backswing here, the top cane here, my torso cane, has moved more than the cane on my hips, because like I said, I want my upper body to work against my lower body, and I get this what we would call disassociation, where the shoulders are turning more than my hips. And it's a real simple drill. A lot of people that I would give this drill to start off with would sort of move both at the same manner as we will see here. And even from this camera now, I'm stood up. I've lost all my angles in the backswing that in my posture that I had, because I turned them both the same and I end up standing up through there. So a real simple drill that we can actually get the feeling of, well, what does this feel like to work my upper body against my lower body here? It might be that you can only turn your back sort of 45 degrees and your hips only go 10-20 degrees. That's absolutely fine, as long as we know that we're going to start to get one working against the other, because then on the way down what I would want to see is that my hips go first, a bit like so. We see it from down the line there, and my shoulders are still closed to where my hip point is there. So as I go through, then I would get something like this, and then I turn, and then they finally match up at the end. So a real simple drill for you to actually understand how to work the upper body against the lower body. It will take a little bit of time, and what I would suggest is doing this in a mirror, or get your phone, a camera, whatever it may be, a glass window that you can stand, look at yourself and think, right, well, there's a turn, and these canes just highlight the separation between the hips and the lower body. The greater the separation, the greater amount of torque we can create, and we would see that that would be a real power source. So if you can get that, this is where hitting it further starts to come in, because I get the good turns, work against it, and I'm coiling up and creating more speed through that. So that is drill number one. Get your two canes, get one across your shoulders, get one across your hip line, and see if you can just start to move and separate them. Even leave your shoulders pointing towards the camera here, and I can start to wiggle my hips a little bit and see that I've got this separation between upper half and lower half. And then I can start to do it a little bit with the shoulders, blend them together, and I've got that nice turn of the upper body against my lower body. Then we want to start to build this into some actual thoughts when we're going to hit some golf balls now. Okay, so the second drill that we want to get, we actually want to start to be able to get a strike and still start to turn the body. And one of the other things that I tend to see from a lot of people is dodgy footwork, in where that if we think of our shoes now, as we stand on them, when we get a good turn, it would feel like my feet are twisting into the ground. So in my backswing, if I made a nice backswing and I was making an efficient backswing, I would feel that my trail foot, so for me, my right foot is digging and twisting into my heel. It would feel that my toes on my lead foot, so my left foot, would also pressure down and raise ever so slightly, so I get this twisting motion. What I wouldn't get is what I see a lot of, where I look like I'm on a little bit of a surfboard, or I'm on my snowboard this way and leaning too much forwards and backwards and sliding from side to side, where my feet are really rolling from being stood normally to rolling to the outer sole on the trail foot and the inner sole on my lead foot, and then working through the other way. So all of a sudden my balance is gone. And a real simple exercise that we can do just to start to actually get the feel of turning a little bit better and staying in balance, we now know that we want the upper body to work against the lower body. We understand that. We've done drill number one and we're starting to get that feeling. Drill number two, like I say, is getting a little bit more awareness in the feet to actually help us hit better shots and get a good strike each time. So as I would go here, I'd take my normal setup, build it in, and then all I want you to do from this angle here is just step your front foot ever so slightly forward, because you're going to take your trail foot and just pop it on its tiptoe here. Your front foot as well, you might flare this about 10-15 degrees just to give you a little bit more stability and give you the ease of opening up your hips on the way through and back. And all you're going to do here, first a couple of practice swings with this foot now, the lead foot planted, what it makes me do is feel that that foot is actually twisting a little bit more. I'm not going and side to side, because if I lean a little bit like this, the first thing that I do is fall over. So what I want you to do is have one where you have the trail foot just back ever so slightly, and with a 7-iron just aim to hit it about 60-70 yards and see that you can get into some good balance. And what this will do as well, from that first drill, when we've got the foot here really trying to keep us in a good balanced posture, as I get to here and I chip it out, it makes that upper body turn on top of the lower body here a little bit more as I'm going through it. So if I'm getting too swayy and not working them against one another, I can do drill one to get that feeling, and then I would just do that drill there on your front foot, on your lead foot as you do it as your first time, and then the second, that will be more for your backswing to get the feeling of the body working against the legs and opening up, and then do it in the opposite manner. So as you go through, switch it so your trail foot is in front, and just feel that you've got this now opened chest up towards the target, and again feeling that we've got that balance and that my feet aren't rocking from side to side and feeling that they're really slidey and sloppy as I go through. I've got a good setup here, feel the upper body, nice little strike there, and even with a small swing I'm pitching those out like 80 yards and getting a really good centered strike, ball and turf, because I'm not getting this horrible slide and making sure that that upper body's turning against my lower body. That's drill number 2. So we've got drill number 1, feeling what we want to actually feel a turn. Number 2, making sure we've got the balance. This drill number 3 is probably the best one and the one you'll see loads of success with. Let's take a look at it now. Okay, so drill number 3, we're going to need an umbrella, something that we always need in England. Actually don't need it at the moment, amazing, sunshine. Anyway, what we need to do is get the umbrella stuck in just behind our trail foot here. The reason for this is going to encompass these 2 drills now, because what I would see, if you're someone who is very much slidey in the backswing, you would see that you would hit it. If you're someone who actually makes a good turn in the backswing, but then on the downswing you work backwards, you hit it. So as this being stuck in behind my trail foot, it's a really good guide for me now to feel that as I take my good setup, it's just placed there, just behind the trail heel. What I want to try and do is feel that my trail hip, so my pocket on my right side for me, is now turning inside it there. So we see this sort of twisting inside it motion. So as I get up to the top, we see that I've worked inside and I've got a nice little gap there. On the way down then, and I want to feel that shift away from the umbrella, and then I feel as I'm coming up to the follow through, I've turned, I've not hit it with my foot, but I've also moved away from it here, so it's not near me. Because what we would see, like I say, in that backswing, it's going to stop us sliding. In the downswing, it's going to stop us moving. It's going to get me rotating. It's going to get me shifting. And if I do it correctly, I should see that I've got a good turn. I feel like I'm turning around it there. My arms are almost going over it in the backswing. Hips going around it. I get my good turn. If I move off it and get those solid balanced feet with my twisting feeling, there we go. Beautiful little strike. A little bit of a draw there for me. That's not normal. We want the fade. But got the ball at the right time. I was away from my umbrella. I didn't feel any interaction with it during the golf swing. So it means that my turn's been better. It means that my downswing's been better. And I've got a great shift. So 3 real simple drills there. Like I say, I just found that they really click with a lot of my students. So I wanted to share them with you guys. Give them a go. If you're someone who doesn't really understand how to turn in the backswing, that's what we've got to be feeling, that first one. Then number 2, are you actually balanced and able to do what you've been doing in number 1? Number 3, put it all together and you're going to see that you're hitting better golf shots. You will be hitting them straighter, you will strike it, and you will get more consistency. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the lesson this week. If you have, do hit that subscribe button for me down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in your next lesson.